Good evening and welcome to another edition of Filmnut. I am your host, Jeff Schubert. Glad you can join us. Well, what do Lindsay Lohan, Rachel McAdams, Amanda Bynes, Kristen Cavallari, and soon-to-be Lacey Chabert all have in common? They were all at one time, or will be, the love interest, on screen anyway, of my guest tonight, the star of the recently released prequel, Van Wilder, Freshman Year. His credits prior to that include Mean Girls, Cheaper by the Dozen 2, Love Wrecked, and The Dukes of Hazzards, The Beginning. Looking forward to talking about all that and more with the very funny Jonathan Bennett. Jonathan, thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having me.
First thing right off the bat, Van Wilder, Freshman Year.
Yes.
Cracked me up. Very funny. Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was awesome. It was a fun movie to make.
Now, I read somewhere where you were talking about how you took a little bit for the character from Matthew Broderick's character in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I would have to say, I was watching it. I saw that, but I also saw a lot of Jim Carrey. Is that accurate? Is that by coincidence, by choice?
Well, I think it's just because I mug a lot in my acting. I think that's what it boils down to is all those years of doing plays in my basement for my parents. But no, yeah, with the Matthew Broderick thing, the Van Wilder character, the original movie, the first one, he's been in college for 7 years, so he's like a fourth-year senior, and we go back and I play him arriving at college for the first time. So I wanted to add a little bit more of the innocence of. I didn't want him to be jaded Van yet. I wanted him to be very innocent. And when I thought about that, there was a lot of looks to camera and speaking to the camera in the movie, and that reminded me a lot of Matthew Broderick and Ferris Bueller. And Ferris Bueller has that innocence about him, yet he's still the trickster. So I combined a lot of that, and then I think the Jim Carrey thing just came because, well, I mug in my acting.
Well, more specifically, and mugging, that's Jim Carrey, sure.
Yeah.
But I think, your facial expressions, your intonations, the way you hit certain lines, extremely funny, and that's where I was sensing some of the Jim Carrey.
Yes. I don't know. I guess I sit at home every day in the mirror and just come up with at least. If I don't have 101 facial expressions by the time I leave the house, I don't leave. I stay home.
Now, you're joking a little bit.
I'm joking.
But seriously, do you ever practice?
No, I don't. I think I'm just a goofball, so I think it comes pretty natural to me, actually.
I guess I'm pretty sure Jim Carrey used to, so I was going to, oh, wow, you have that in common. But no.
Oh, did he? He used to do that?
He used to practice facial expressions.
Then I definitely practiced them. That's what I used to do. I practiced them just like he did.
Now, am I alone in that, or has anyone else made that kind of Jim Carrey, Ferris Bueller kind of comparison?
My mom.
Your mom.
My mom said the same thing. She's like, "You remind me of Jim Carrey." I was like, "Thanks, Mom." You know what doesn't remind me of Jim Carrey? My bank account. Yeah, I think you two are the only people that do that.
Okay, well, Mrs. Bennett, we got something in common.
Good job, Mama.
So now, Van Wilder, Freshman Year, for people who've seen Van Wilder, the original, what's similar, what's different, and what's this one about?
Van Wilder, Freshman Year, crazy. It's about Van Wilder in his freshman year, okay? Now, I know that we really stretched on the title there. It's basically Van Wilder comes to college for the first time, and he shows up at college, and it's run like a military academy. It's run very by the book, and Dean Charles Reardon, played by the amazing Kurt Fuller, who's awesome, he kind of controls the school, and Van shows up and decides that he's going to make a few changes, and that college should be about, beer bongs and blowjobs more than about, studying. So he takes over and decides to kind of rule the school. So the whole movie is, it's very 80s comedy. When I read the script, the first thing I thought of, and when I saw the film, it reminds me of the good 80s comedies, like the Porkies and the Meatballs, and all that genre of, you have, the nemesis is the angry guy at school, and then you have this kind of like misfit group of college guys kind of trying to change the school, and that's what essentially our movie's like.
I think it nails it in the head, even the way it was. The score and the music was kind of had that 80s feel.
Yeah, there's a lot of 80s. So I know there's a great scene when I when I pull up in a golf cart and pick up Kristen Cavallari, who plays my girlfriend, and she comes walking down the stairs in this like pink dress, and it's all done slow-mo and like zooms in on me, and it cuts back and forth, and it's totally that like 80s like John Waters movie where like it's a slow-mo like love shot, like who's gonna drive you home, like just like it's good.
Awesome. Well, we have a clip for it. Let's take a look at it.
We have clips? Wow.
We have the trailer.
You guys are good.
We're good. We're prepared. We knew you were coming.
Yeah, wow. All right.
Get ready for Van Wilder, freshman year.
Hello, Van Wilder, chairman of freshman relations, self-appointed.
Well, well, Mr. Wilder, while you're here, you'll follow Reardon's rules. No drinking and no partying, period.
More girls. More beer.
You wouldn't happen to have a pale ale on tap, would ya?
Freshman year.
I bet you've never had to work a hard day in your life.
Depends on what you mean by hard.
Van Wilder, freshman year. Coming soon on DVD.
And of course, the correction being it is currently available on DVD.
Yes.
It will be making its cable premiere on Comedy Central, I believe, September 5th.
It will?
It will.
Wow, you learn something new every day. I'm going to get interviewed every day so that I can know what's going on with my career. It's great.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's get to our first instant message of the evening. Alpha
this is
SIDN
exciting.
would like to ask, Jonathan, did it feel like a daunting task to play Van Wilder when having to reprise a beloved role such as that?
Well, you know, I had this weird. Well, I actually saw Ryan before I went to shoot the movie. Like, I knew I had gotten the part, and there was a week before we were going to Georgia to shoot it, and I saw Ryan in a parking garage. I've never met him before. I didn't know him, and I walked past him, and I was like, should I say something? I should say something. I should do it. I'm like, I'm gonna go say something, and I walk up to him. I'm like, hi, Ryan. I'm Jonathan. Then he's like, kind of thrown off a little bit, and I was like, I know this sounds a little weird, but I'm going to be playing you in the new Van Wilder. And, like, it was so awkward, and like once he heard me say that, then his like face lit up. He's like, "Oh, that's great! You know, you're gonna have so much fun. It's good. It's a great role. You're gonna have a good time." So
I mean, it's not like they fired him. You know?
No, they didn't fire him. He just got too expensive, is what it was. People are like, "Oh, is it because he grew up and got older?" No, he's expensive now. All right, he's Ryan Reynolds, very expensive. Jonathan Bennett, cheap. I'll work for sandwiches. You can pay me in Subway. Yeah, Subway. And basically, so it was a challenge to take over for him because everybody knows who. I mean, he's Ryan. He does his thing. And when I took over the role, I didn't want to neglect anything he had done because it's really important to. He invented the character Van, so you want to keep some of the Vanisms Van. Like, you can't play Van Wilder and not do the Van shit. Like, you have to do Van stuff. You know, you have to do it. But at the same time, what I want to do is just add an element of naivete.
I think I had to write
What's the word?
time.
Naivete?
Naivete, yeah.
That's not a word.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
That is a word.
Google that. Someone Google that. I don't think that's a word. Naivete is a word?
They're going to do it. So, guys, look it
Someone
up.
Google naivete, because I
know.
don't think that's a. I think you're bullshitting. But yeah. So I didn't. I wanted to add this element of like kind of innocence of the freshman year because he is new in college. So I wanted to add that element, but still keep him true to the original character. So yeah, I mean, it was a challenge, and you know, some people see it and they hate it, and they're like, he's not Ryan Reynolds. Like, no shit, I'm not Ryan Reynolds, and I'm not trying to be Ryan Reynolds. You know, I was just doing my thing, but at the same time, you know, it's a iconic character. You have to stick to it.
First of all, Crunchman confirms it is in fact a word.
Thank you, Crunchman. Thank you.
You know, sometimes when you see a movie and you really like it, it's
Yeah.
hard. You're loyal to the first one.
Yeah.
You see, you know, whether it be James
How
Bond
did
movies.
did you watch them in order, or
I
did
did
you
not.
watch them not in order?
I watched your movie first, and then I watched the original second. And I tell you what, you are not going to be working for sandwiches for long if that's what you're working for.
Oh,
'cause
wow.
You did an amazing job. You were very funny. You did exactly what you just said to the audience in terms of, you know, keeping some of the things that were established with Ryan Reynolds and also making it your own.
Right.
And, you know, there was a lot, you know, the trailer that we just saw, ladies and gents, was very accurate. They did kick it up. You know, more sex,
Yes.
more of the stunts. I mean,
Yes.
you knew if you were going to do it again, the filmmakers did anyway, they had to do that. They had to bring it. They had to give more than the
Right.
previous, which I think they did. And then, you know, you and your role, you know, you carry it. You do an amazing job, and you're very funny.
Thank you so. I feel. Can you just? Can you call me once a day and just say nice things to me, because this is great.
I can call you once a day to do that and to teach you something new.
Yeah, teach me a new word.
right?
Word of the day. We're gonna have word of the day with Jonathan
With
Bennett. It's a new
Jonathan
segment on Filmnut.com. The word of the day is naivete. Naivete. Great.
I can even give an example.
Yes.
In the Van Wilder, the first one, there's the scene where Ryan gives the pep talk to the football team.
Yes.
You know, to improve.
Yes, the football team.
And that's a fun scene.
Yeah.
You got the deaf coach, and he's not looking, and all that kind of good stuff. But then in your version of it, there is a similar scene.
There's a similar scene.
Where you're giving a motivational speech, not to the team, but to the cheerleaders.
To the cheerleaders.
And you wind up, redesigning their outfits.
Yeah. And
it's kicking it up a notch.
And then you know what exactly. You know what we see in there? We see a lot of booby. A lot of booby in that scene. Can I say booby? I can say booby.
You can say booby. So
boobies. Boobies. A lot of boobies in that scene.
A lot of boobies.
That's the gag. See, that's the gag of the scene, is that they cut to the locker room, and I'm not talking to the sports team. I'm talking to the cheerleaders. It's a gag. It's a bit we had in our movie. It's great. It's great.
I should have said spoiler alert, probably.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Twitter that.
Twitter that.
Tweet.
Without giving too much away, lot of fun. You don't even tweet, do you?
No, I don't even tweet. I'm afraid to say the wrong word with that. No, I don't. That.
Right. Do you have a favorite scene from the movie?
You know, I really like the sex ed class. That was fun. That was a fun scene to shoot because it was just insane. There's all these people, like you walk in and there are like 30 different like half-naked people in different sexual positions, like just going at it all over the classroom. So I mean, that scene was a lot of fun. But I really think like the most random scene and like weird shooting experience was the dildo scenes. We have so many dildos in this movie. I've never seen so many dildos in my entire life. Not at a sex store, anywhere.
I know some girlfriends of mine that were having a difficult time purchasing that week.
Yeah, they couldn't because they were all there. Yeah, I know. We had to borrow half of them from our cast. So a lot of our crew members got angry at us. But yeah, there's like the scenes where we're sitting there with Kurt Fuller. It's just me and him, and we're in his office, and he dumps out of a bag of like 50 different sized dildos, and dildos just spill everywhere. After we cut, I looked at Kurt, and Kurt just smiled. He's like, "What are we shooting?" I'm like, "I have no idea." We just couldn't help it. It was so funny.
Yeah, no, great stuff. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Your director in the movie, Harvey Glazer.
Yes, Harv.
Harv, correct. Correct, of course.
Yeah, good job. You do your research, man. Wow.
He comes from a music video background,
yes.
and I think in effects. So did those sensibilities show in his directing style? We talked about it being kind of 80s
because
style.
I think this movie has a lot of those like montages with the dildos and the like obstacle course. There's a lot of different like montages that happen with the different scenes, and I think that's very like music video-esque. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because there's lots of different cuts and like very quick done to music. So I think that's where it helped us out a lot. We have some really cool montages.
Excellent. Crunchman, video-esque, is that a word? Get back to us.
Video-esque. Video-esque.
Now, one of the challenges...
Is that an apostrophe? That's an apostrophe.
Yeah, a hyphen.
Hyphen.
Yeah.
Hyphen? What's an apostrophe? God, I'm an idiot. No. Jesus.
You had a tremendous challenge, I think,
yeah.
as an actor on the set, because I was listening to an interview with Harv, and one of the things he was talking about in directing you was there were 3 different vans.
Yeah.
He was, high, medium, low. He had some specific adjectives,
right.
for it. So he would actually have you do lines of dialogue 3 different ways, 3 different vans.
Yeah.
How was that challenge?
Yeah, we had big van, medium van, and normal van. And because the challenge was because I'm an asshole and and I always want to do like the big over the top scene. Anytime I always go for the over the top take. So I always wanted to do the big version of van, and so I would do that a few times. And then once he had that, he'd say, "Okay, give me a medium size." So I'd kind of drop it down a little bit and do the scene that way, and then he'd be like, "Okay, give me normal." And I hated doing normal van because it was so boring to me. I was like, "Oh, I just want to do the big over-the-top version. I don't want to do the boring one." And so we would do that, and we got into a fight a few times about it. Nothing big, but like there was definitely some moments where I'm like, "No, I think it should be big," and he's like, "No, small." And I was really nervous because I didn't know how the film was going to cut together. So once I saw it, I was very happy that like some of the big vans made it where they should be big, and he was right. Harvey Glazer, you're right. There were some small vans that should be in there, and they were, and you put them in. So I think we both did a good job of, he kind of saw it as one way, and I saw it as another, and if you use both of our different takes, it works out well.
Well, and you hit on it in your answer. You hit on in your answer what my next question was going to be.
Yes. What?
We'll get some water for the young man.
No, I'm good. I'm
good. The fact that you had to have a tremendous amount of trust because you weren't going to see what it looked like until the editing process. So you saw the first cut and you were happy.
Yeah, I'm so happy with this movie because you just don't know. Like you do this movie, and this was one of the first movies that I would like essentially carry all by myself, and it's such an iconic character, and there's so many factors that play into it. Like what you want to do with it. And so I said, hey, I'm just going to do this and pray to God it worked. And it did. So,
and then
thank God.
Amongst the the comedy, there were a few serious scenes, serious moments for Van, and I thought you dialed down, or Harv made good choices there.
Yeah. Well, most of them were with Kristen, and I think there were some really nice emotional moments in the movie, and it kind of brings a human side to the Van Wilder character, where you only really see that I think one time in the original movie, but in this one it kind of brings a human element to it.
Well, I think there was a time where you were confronting your enemy a couple of times, where you weren't sure even that Kristen was there.
Right.
You know what scene I'm talking about?
Oh, that scene at the end when I come up and I say, if let's play war games together, and we do that whole war game scene, and I say something like, he says something to me like, if I kick your ass or something, I'm like, if I was your son, I'd kick my own ass.
Yeah,
so that whole scene.
Kristen is more of a soldier.
Yeah. Kristen's more of a soldier than you. You think I would know? I was in the damn movie. I should know this stuff.
Well, I can teach him at words.
He's going to teach me. Yeah. And can you give me some line readings? Can you give me a few of my different line readings for my performance, please? Thank you. Those are some emotional moments I really liked.
And those are real nice. They came out really well. Was there a scene in particular that was challenging for you to shoot?
Any scene with the dog. The goddamn dog. I am sorry, but that dog is the hardest actor I've ever had to work with. And trust me, I've worked with some dogs. God, it's a joke. But anytime the dog got the scene right, that's the take that goes in the movie, because it was a bulldog. So I mean, you don't see too many bulldogs as human, like leading the blind around the streets, and you don't see too many bulldogs sniffing for bombs on airplanes, because they're bulldogs. They don't do anything. They sit there and they drool. That's all they do. And they eat. And they just pant. That's all they do all the time. So to try to get this dog to do the tricks that we needed it to do, impossible. So like, if the dog got the scene right and put its paw up when it was supposed to, or followed me at the right moment, or even if he just sat where, all we wanted you to do, just sit on the ground and don't move. That's like, stay. The most easiest dog command you could possibly do in the entire training of dogs. Couldn't do it. Finally, he would get it right. That take goes in the movie. We're like, great, moving on. It was that he was. I mean, any scene with that dog, I love him to death. I even forget his name. Colossus. I mean, and he doesn't really have balls like that. Those are CGI. Those are not like. We didn't find a dog with huge nuts. We put that in.
You didn't put out an open casting call for a dog?
Talk about a casting couch. Wow. Wow.
So that's actually a general tip for actors in general. When you're working a scene with any animal.
Animals and kids.
Be prepared. The take they get it right, that's the one.
Yeah, animals and kids are the worst. Love animals and kids to death. Just don't like to work with them.
I'm sure Kurt Fuller could has some stories for his therapist about working with that animal.
Yeah, that man has been through it all. I mean, I think he's like he's in every movie. If you IMDb him, Kurt Fuller is in every movie ever made in the history of film.
That's right.
Like every single one. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, if I had to talk about some of the reasons to see Van Wilder, obviously you do a great job.
Right.
Kristen does an awesome job. The great women in the movie, they do a great job.
They do.
But the scenes with the dog and Kurt.
Oh, Jesus.
those are great.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with the dog and Kurt. There's a scene in the movie you should see. Well, you should see the film if you haven't, because it's brilliant, clearly. Don't ask him, not
That's
me.
Right.
But there's a scene where Kurt and the dog have a type of sexual relation. And that happened to be the same day that guess whose mom decided to come to set? Mine. So we're on set shooting this, and I'm like, here, Mom, just sit here, put the headphones on, sit by the monitor, watch what we're gonna do. I'm like running around, I'm like, just sit here. Great. She's like, okay, great. So I go and shoot the scene, and I come back, and I realize that there's a sexual act going on between a dog and Kurt Fuller, and my mom is sitting out there watching it. And I come around the corner, I'm like, yeah! And I'm like, oh no. And I come around and I see her, and she's standing over in the corner, left the monitor, has walked over to her own little area, and she looks at me and she goes, well, that's just sick. That is just sick. I was like, yeah, you picked the wrong day to come to set. I should have warned you about that. Yeah.
So she gets to see your legs in the Dukes of Hazzard, right?
She gets to see everything. Yeah. My mom, my first job I did was in Law and Order. My first, I did a soap, but before that I did Law and Order, and it was me having sex with my stepmother, who is Sherilyn Finn. So cut to, I didn't tell my mom what the episode was about. I'm like, oh, I have a guest star on this show. You know, you got to watch it, Law & Order. So they all watch. Cut to a scene of the cops busting in Chris Maloney, and here I am railing Sherilyn Finn, who's like the same age as my mother. Right. Like she about how, Jesus Christ, John! Oh my God, you're having sex with your mother? That's just sick. She thinks everything's sick, and she talks like this. Like I'm not like doing a voice for her. That's how she sounds. Bless her heart. I love you, Mom. Love you. Love you. Mwah. But, like, definitely, she sounds like that.
So a little more heads up to Mom when you're going to play some of these stuff, right?
How about you just stop watching my movies, okay? I'll just come home for, like, Christmas and stuff. You stop watching my stuff.
Crazy Coconut would like to ask you, how close...
Are you that crazy, you little coconut? You're a crazy little coconut, aren't you? What?
How close is Van Wilder's life to Jonathan's real personality?
100%. 110%. I am Van Wilder.
In fact, how many people did they see for the part?
Oh, well, here's the funny part. When I was the first person to audition for the role, I was actually, I walked in on my birthday, which is weird. And I don't know if I shouldn't tell the story. I can't tell the story. But I did walk in on my birthday for the audition. I was the first person they saw. And the casting director, after I got the job, came up to me and said, you know, she's like, it was the weirdest thing. You walked in, you did the monologues, you left, and we were like, okay, well, we found him. There he is. And for the rest of the audition process, it was really hard for them to even audition anyone else because they knew, like, from their first meeting that they had found the guy, which was really awesome. And I guess that rarely happens.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Brianna would like to ask, what was the funniest thing that happened to you on set?
Okay, there's a lot of funny things. Brianna,
yeah.
Brianna, hi, nice to meet you. How are you? There's a lot of funny stuff. Okay, the champagne. You remember the champagne?
Yes.
Did you see the champagne? I'm trying to shoot the scene with the dog where I'm being all slick and Rico Suave and like very sexy, and I don't have a thing for dogs. It's just like it's in the movie. And we're sitting there, and I go to pop the champagne. I have never actually popped a bottle of champagne in my entire life, not once. And I didn't realize that when you just push it a little, the thing flies off, and it makes a loud noise, and there's pressure. They're not joking around with that. But on set, super quiet, I'm laying with the dog, I go to pop it, boom, it explodes, and I scream. And my face, you can watch it, it's in the bloopers. It's on the
DVD extras.
The DVD extras.
Yes.
Yeah, go watch it, it's hysterical. And it pops off, and I literally, like, my face goes like that, and I like scream, and like the whole crew just loses it. And you just hear the directors and the producers and the writers like peeing their pants on the sides. And I think I was a little tipsy at that point, actually, because I think they had replaced the champagne with the fake champagne with the real champagne, and I had downed about 10 glasses of it. So I might have been even drunk at that point. I don't even know. I'm kidding. Well,
with the DVD extras, you'll see it's full-on reactions to that. Also, some more quality time with Kurt with the dog, which is kind of funny. So, got to get that DVD. Let's see. Music is Life would like to ask, what is your favorite song? Good screen name. Good question for the screen name.
Hey, music. Look at that. Oh, my favorite song. You know, I don't know. My favorite song. I can't tell you my favorite song. Right. One of my new favorite songs that just came out is that one by Black Eyed Peas, the I Got a Feelin'. That's a good one. My manager and I love that song. Every time it comes on, we go crazy.
What was the shooting schedule like on Van Wilder? How long did it take to shoot? Any complications?
We shot in Decatur, Georgia, and all for like two months in the summer, and it was extremely hot and humid and disgusting and gross in Georgia in August, and I worked about 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I didn't have any time off. Like I shot the entire time, so it was pretty grueling. There was one weekend, or there was 2 weekends. There was one weekend when I got to leave for like one night, and I went to New York, and I walked around and did my favorite thing, which is go and get those cupcakes from Billy's Cupcakes. Mm-hmm. And got to get my own cupcake, and that's my favorite thing ever. So I got to do that in the middle, and I love them.
And speaking of Decatur, Georgia, there's actually another project that you're involved with, is a reality show called Decatur, right?
Yes.
What's Decatur for the audience?
Okay, Decatur is our version of The Hills. You know that really, the Emmy-nominated TV show, The Hills.
Which Kristen will be appearing.
Kristen
Cavallari.
Cavallari. I still to this day don't know how to say her last name. You say Cavallari. She says it's something other, like, I don't even know what her name is. Kristen, Casey, you know, the mean one on The Hills. Right. We did our own version of The Hills called Decatur, and it's basically our spoof of what The Hills is. And this is when we shot it when Kristen didn't know she was going back to The Hills.
Oh.
So I think she was spoofing it, and then all of a sudden she's back on The Hills now. So, but she's the best. Kristen is awesome, and I love her to death. She's so good.
And for those people watching, it's not actual reality show, but it is a 10 or 11 minute spoof that they did.
Spoof, yeah.
That is a part of the DVD extras.
Right. Yeah, we don't actually like sit around Decatur, Georgia,
right.
like on our cell phones, like talking. That doesn't really happen.
So now let's talk about that. I mentioned in the top all the women you've worked with. How do you develop such great chemistry with all these starlets that you've worked with?
Well, I'm charming as shit, Jeff. I mean, come on. What do you think? I develop. I just show up to work and hope I know the lines. Golly. I don't know. I have really good relationships with all the girls that I've worked with, and I think it's because I put out. I think that's really what it is. I put out on the first day of filming, and they all really seem to like that and come back for more. So, you know, flirtation without consummation, Jeff. It'll get you the farthest.
There you go.
That's how you get it. Except Lindsay was 16 when we worked together, so I take that back about Lindsay. Please don't sue me.
I will make a note of that.
Yeah.
But speaking of Lindsay and Mean Girls, incredibly popular movie. Lindsay Lohan?
Never heard of her.
Never heard of her?
Nope. Not once.
Before we came on, you told me a great story about how you actually got that part. I know about, well, I'll let you tell it.
What do you want to hear?
About
Mean
Girls.
The story about me and Lindsay, or the story?
The one you can tell.
Oh, the one I can tell.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, when I screen tested with Lindsay, we sat in the room together and we did 2 scenes. We did the kissing scene at the end of the prom, and we did the do you want to go to the movies, or do you have a pencil I can borrow scene. All the people that ever watched Mean Girls probably remember that scene. It's where I do this thing. Do you have a pencil I could borrow? That's the thing right there. You see that? Yeah, like that? You like that? Thank you. Thanks. It's classic movie magic right there. That's butter. That is butter. That's
I was melting
stuff.
right here.
Yeah. See, look, he's dripping. He's wet. So we did that scene in the screen test, and at a certain moment in that scene when she says gruel to me, and I say the word gruel back, we both started blushing on camera. Both got red in the face, actually blush on camera. And the director, Mark Waters, who's a genius, clearly because he has good taste in casting, was like, cut! And he's like, great. He's like, Jesus, they just blushed on cue. He's like, what more do you want? You know, that was kind of I think that's what kind of sealed the deal. Oh. But I don't know if you could tell if Lindsay was blushing or not, or if it was just her freckles.
There you go.
It was one of the two. I think it might have just been me blushing, and then he looked at her, and since I was red, saw her freckles, and they match.
Your career launched on a freckles to blush controversy.
Thank God. Thank you, Lindsay, for being a redhead. That's all I have to say.
Maria Jose Dance would like to ask, if you had a chance to pick a TV series to act in, which one would it be and why?
Wow. If I had to pick a TV series to act in, which one? There's so many. I mean, there's so many I want to be in. I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I love, our Chucks. I love anything comedy. But to be honest, what my dream job, hands down, forever dream job would be to be on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, there you go. That makes
that
sense.
is that is the icing on the cake. Whether to be in the cast member or be a guest on it, a host,
yeah.
That's my favorite show. I love that's my brother.
We'll make that happen. Now, one show that you were on.
You know people.
That's right.
Clearly, yeah.
As a guest.
Jeff's gonna call it in, just so you know. All my ties with Tina Fey, Lindsay, Lauren Michaels. Screw it. We don't need it. We have Jeff. Jeff's gonna call in my favor for SNL. Hey, Lauren, remember when you cast who? Wait, great. Go on.
It's a good thing the camera was on him just now, because I was just blushing for about the last 20 seconds.
Look, he's the same color as this damn shirt. Jesus.
There you go.
Criminy, where are we?
You're going to owe me, though, when
I owe you. When he's going to pull strings.
I'm going to pull strings.
He's got high pull at 30 Rock.
There you go. I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, look.
So I'm going to go to another I Am.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie from JB Girl Forever?
What is my favorite movie from JB Girl?
JB Girl Forever is the one asking the question. And the question is, what is your favorite movie?
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, there you go.
JB Girl Forever, how are you? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's the best. Clark Griswold is my father. Like, my dad is Clark Griswold, and I grew up every Christmas with, like, that type of Christmas. And I watched it so many times, I have the whole thing memorized front to back. Even the speech where he walks in and does the whole, hey, if any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas, here's one. I want Frank Shirley, my boss, right here. He does that whole thing. I memorized it when I was, like, I think 15 years old, just because I thought it was so funny. And if you like, I'll do it for you right now. I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, spotty-limbed, bug-eyed, worm-headed, stiff-legged, sack of monkey he is. Hallelujah, holy, where's the Tylenol? Kept those bleeps out.
That was amazing. He was not bluffing, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I really watched it every time.
I mean, that was not practice.
Yeah.
You didn't know that question was coming, obviously. It was an I am.
Nope.
And you just
Chevy Chase.
hit that out.
Love him.
Including the bleeps. I remember what I was going to ask you before I lost my composure.
What were you going to ask me?
I was going to ask you, we were talking about TV and shows you might want to be on. I was going to ask you about one that you were on as a guest star, Smallville. How was that experience?
Smallville's fun. When you get to play a superhero, I mean, who doesn't want to play a superhero and have powers and, like, be able to erase people's minds and do all this cool stuff with your hands? I mean, it's fun to play a superhero, and then there's the moment in the scene when you're going to use your effect or your whatever, whatever it's called, your power, and you put your hand up, like, do all that stuff, and as you put your hand up, they turn on these, like, green lights and these fans and fog and wind, and all this stuff happens, and as you bring your hand down, it all goes away. So you start to after about 5 or 6 takes, you start to realize, hey, maybe I have an actual power. Every time I put my hand up, green light. Every time I put my hand down, no green light. Then you go home and get hit by a bus because you try to stop a bus with your hand, and it doesn't work.
Right. So you had the ability to erase memories, and your power even worked on Superboy, Clark Kent,
Superman,
right?
Superboy, Clark Kent, good old Tom Welling, yes.
Cool. So let's see, Irish Rob would like to ask, what made you want to become an actor, and who to you was the most inspiring actor growing up?
Wow, that's a nice question. Thank you.
So 2 parts. First part.
What was the first part?
What made you want
wasted. I'm sorry. What is it?
We got to stop, you know.
Yeah, quit giving me alcohol before the interview.
We go live.
Jesus.
What made you want to become an actor?
I don't know how to do anything else. That really was what it is. I have no clue on how to do anything. To be honest, I started acting when I was 7th grade, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I was always like just being cheesy for my parents, and like just like grew up and always putting on shows and like magic shows, and like my dad wanted to build me a treehouse in the backyard, and I said, no, Dad, I don't want a treehouse. Build me a stage. So he built me like a magic stage in our basement with like a fog machine and curtains and all that. So I put on magic shows and like little like, yeah, basically magic shows. I would like, there were stupid tricks. I mean, it was like this. Like, they weren't even like real. It was stupid. But I would charge $1 and make them all see it. I was like, wait a minute. I can get people to pay to see me do this. Maybe I should do this for a living. And the more and more I did it, the more and more I got good at it. And I just was like, came time in high school when they wanted you to fill out the paper of, you know, what do you want to do with your life? I was like, well, I guess I only know how to be an actor, so I should do that.
So from your basement stage to what, theater training?
Yeah, theater training to sitting here with Jeff today. There we go. And don't worry, Jeff's going to call Lauren Michaels for us tomorrow, so it's going to be fine. And then who inspired me? You know, seriously, Chevy. I never know how you say it. Is it Chevy or Chevy Chase?
I think it's Chevy.
But because Chevy.
But my confidence is now shaken since with the whole Lauren Michaels
Chevy
thing,
truck.
Right.
Spelled the same way.
Right. Demi.
You know? Ashton Kutcher. Right. Let's play 6 Degrees of Separation.
That's right.
Demi Moore, Chevy Chase. Go.
Let's see. Steve Martin.
How do you figure?
I don't know. I just threw out the first name that popped into my head.
He doesn't know. Okay, fine. You know, I think he was one of my. I love all those '80s guys. I love John Candy, and I love Steve Martin, and I love all the the Uncle Bucks, the Great Outdoors, all that.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Fan, huge Jim Carrey fan. Anything funny and comedy, because you know, to me, there's so much depression in the world, and there's so much crap out there that makes, you know, if you want to see something dramatic, I say turn on the news. There you go. You can watch something dramatic. That's why I'm not really. I mean, not that I don't like doing dramatic work or dramatic pieces, but like, I want to make people laugh. There's so much crap out there. Might as well, you know, do something fun.
Well, it's so much out there, and it's more in your face than it ever was before.
Yeah,
and it's almost like you can't get away from it.
Yeah, and I think
you know?
growing up, all I wanted to do is watch funny people, and so I steal from them. As Michael Caine says, if you're going to steal, steal from the best. So yeah, I did steal a little from Jim Carrey in this movie, but he's one of the best. So
there you go. Well, since you brought up Michael Caine, I recall reading that his book on acting is you read it before every movie, right?
Right.
Do you still do that?
I do. I didn't read it before. Yeah, I did read. I did not read it before this one, but
I used to. I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I know. Good one, John. Shoot yourself in the foot. Thanks. I read a lot of. I read his book every time because it's a quick read. Michael Caine, Acting in Film. It's one of the best books written for acting, and it doesn't teach you how to act. It just teaches you how to show up to work and be a star. That's what I think it is. And it's about, you know, just anything from how to treat the wardrobe people. Like, you know, just little things to think about. Like, hey, these people have been up all night ironing your suit. If you don't have to be in your suit for an hour and a half, don't get in it and wrinkle it all up. And like, just like the simplest things that you don't think about, but it's good to like refresh your memory before you go to work of like, hey, you know, work as a team to make sure everything happens. And then also just like, he teaches you little tricks about like on-camera kisses and on-screen, like, you know, just all these like little tricks you have of like, you know, before you do a scene that's really emotional, you know, try to hyperventilate before they say action, and it'll put you in this like mind space. And I tried it and it worked. So ever since, you know, I started putting his methods to the test and they worked, I've been kind of obsessed with it. And you know, and plus the great thing is you can also hear his voice like saying all this in your head when you read it. You can hear his Michael Caine voice telling you to use gum before you kiss a girl in a he refers to her as a bird. Right. Before you kiss a bird in a scene. Yeah.
Very good. Good stuff. Faqad would like to ask.
Excuse you. I'm in the room. Wow. Excuse you. Jeff, this is over. This interview is done. Do I have people? Do I have people here? I need someone in this room. Oh, I have no people.
Tiffany's a person.
She's a robot. Don't let anyone tell you differently.
Faqad would like to ask, does he have any desire, do you have any desire to direct in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I want to be a director for sure. Absolutely. I have a good, I have a natural, I think, vision for the way scenes go as far visually. I don't think I'm there yet and ready as far as like directing actors yet. So I think I would be a better DP than I would be a director right now. So as you work and time goes on, you work in more films and are around it more, then you kind of start to learn that side. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a sucker for an end of the movie kiss, helicopter pullback shot, crane it around, circle it around 3 times, pull back, see everything go off in the sunset. I love that. Like the good, big, glossy endings, I love movies. And I think you know, that's why independent films I enjoy in a different way, but I don't, a lot of times independent films aren't what really like inspire me, because I feel like when you go to see the movies, you want to go to the movies, and you want the camera to push in right at the right moment, and you want the twinkle sound to happen, and you want the orchestra to chime in right at the right moment, and the helicopter to pull it back and see, like, I want to see a movie. You know?
Well, it reminds me like when you're talking with your friends about movies that are coming out, and there are certain movies that you instantly say, oh, that's a rental.
Yeah.
Because there are certain movies that you want to see in the theater and have that theater experience.
You want to go to the movies.
And then there are other ones that,
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see, Lady of Darings, there you go. How do you stay in character between the different takes without getting distracted, especially when there's a mess up?
How do I say, well, usually if there's a mess up, it's because I did it. That's usually I screw it up. But staying in character, to me, I've never been, I don't know, as far as for me, some actors work differently, and some are very method, and they get into it, to their character in a certain way. For me, most of the characters I play are similar to myself. Like Van Wilder was pretty easy for me, because, anytime I started to act, the director would just kind of cut in and be like, Jonathan, stop acting, just be Jonathan. I'm like, oh, okay, right, yeah. So it's pretty easy, for me at least. But I know some people it's really hard for. I don't really have an answer to that, because I'm not a method guy. I just kind of, it just kind of happens. I don't know.
remember another one of the bloopers I saw. I was like, geez, I wonder if I should ask him about this, but you told me it was okay.
What?
Some things I have to double check.
What?
Like, there's this scene with you and Caitlin, Kristen's character, where you shake her boob and get it like it's a handshake.
Yeah.
And she seemed to enjoy it. I'm like, what's going on? That's not part of the scene.
Yeah, that's not part of the scene. True. Kristen had a little bit of padding. And it's not a secret, and she's talked about this. It's not like, oh, there we go, Jonathan blew our fantasy. Kristen had her boobs stuffed for some of them. Like, she had some padding. So the joke was, I would poke them, but it was padding. So that was the joke. So at the end, the director on the walkie-talkie came over and he was directing us. He was like, okay, I want you to kiss her on her right side, like over the walkie-talkie. So we'd kiss, and we're rolling all this. We're shooting it right here. Where's the camera? There we go. And he's like, we're rolling this, we're shooting it. So we're like, kiss her on this side, and then I'd kiss her on the other side. And I was like, okay, now stroke her hair. And I'd stroke her hair, and he's like, okay. And he's like, okay, now grab her boobs. And I was like, and then I would grab her boobs. So it was a joke because he was directing it all.
Now a lot of people see those kind of scenes and they think, oh, how fun, to be able to fool around.
I'm really
on camera.
fun to work with, yeah.
But
yes, if that's what you're getting at, I'm really fun.
Is it distracting?
Yeah, and I know all my stuff too when I show up. So go on, hire me. Hire me.
The director talking in your ear, like stroke her hair, is that kind of annoying or distracting?
Well, no, because people always think love scenes and kissing scenes are so, hot and sexy. They're not. They're the most non-hot, sexy thing you could ever shoot in your entire life because it's all technical. It doesn't matter, it's all about, her chin being at the right position and her hair falling over her face the right way and especially at the end of Mean Girls, when Lindsay and I kiss, I go in and I think I brush her hair open. I do that on purpose so that way the audience can see her face and then turn her a certain way before you kiss her. It's a whole technical thing. So it's very weird because everyone thinks they're so sexy when really it's all you're more worried about not putting your hand over her chin and not covering her side of the face with your chin, and it's all very weird.
Okay.
Very weird. Very weird. Not like it is in real life. Okay, people? Not like it is in the pornos.
Pool Man would like to ask, what way do you like to make people laugh? By slapstick or physical humor or intellectual jokes?
I'm a big fan of the pratfall, man. There is nothing funnier than a pratfall. Someone just falling right out of frame, that's funny. That's funny stuff. Honestly, mine is more like the slapstick, kind of the physical comedy, falling down. And in Van Wilder, I get to do a lot of that, which is we do the obstacle course, things like that, and I get to do a lot of just falling over myself, and because I'm 6'2", and I have long arms and long legs, so I kind of look like Bambi on ice when I'm out there trying to do an obstacle course. So for me personally, I think all the physical stuff and the slapstick's a lot more fun. I mean, intellectual's fun, but I'm kind of a goofball and I'm kind of over the top. So for me to take my comedy and kind of put it into this tiny little box, I like it, but it's annoying to me. I'm like, but I want to do the fun. I want to slip on the banana peel. I want to slip on the banana peel. That's funny. I want people not to have to think about the joke. God, would you have the intellectual humor? Who wants that? You have to think about why it's funny. It's like, if you want to do that, just go read the Sunday comics. Read Kathy in the comic section. Well,
in addition, though, there's obviously a lot of that physical humor in Van Wilder, but
yeah.
there's a lot of humor comes from just your facial reactions, and sarcasm and intonations and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's.
Intelligent,
that's the writing. That's the writing.
Intelligent, I'll leave out.
Yeah, intelligent. Oh, God knows.
But
you
physical,
have met me, right?
But the physical,
Jesus.
the physical, the facial expressions, the intonations, all that stuff, it's all in there.
Yeah. Well, I try.
So I guess you're a Kramer guy on Seinfeld then, huh?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Brianna would like to ask again, who is your favorite superhero and why?
Batman. Batman, just because he's awesome. Batmobile, really? Do I need to explain why Batman is the coolest superhero of all of them? No, he's awesome. He has a butler. How many superheroes have butlers, right? You're a superhero, you live in a mansion, and you have a butler who is Michael Caine.
That's called making circles.
Yeah, I'm going to take that joke and I'm going to bring it around.
Bring it around.
Okay?
I would think you would also be a Spider-Man guy because he's so sarcastic and funny.
Yeah, Not really ever got into Spider-Man. It was all about the Batmobile to me growing up. I wanted my car to be painted black. Like, I was all about the Batmobile.
So if not funny, he can get chicks with the car and the
Yeah.
money. I can see
totally.
it. Let's see. Sam Mary would like to ask, what tips can you give to us about acting?
Don't do it. Don't do it if your life depends on it. Just kidding. Thank you for that question. Yes. You know what? Acting, in the first chapter of Michael Caine's book, he says this. Gosh, I need to get a free one of these. Michael Caine, if you're watching, which I'm sure you are because you have nothing better to do than watch my interview on thestream.tv, if you're watching this, please send me a free copy of your book because mine's getting pretty bent out of shape.
Autograph, no autograph?
Autograph it, please, too. He says, if you want to become an actor, but only if acting doesn't interfere with your social life, with your golf game, or with your work, then you don't want to become an actor. Acting is more than a full-time job. It's more than a full-time life. It's a full-time obsession. And I never understood what that meant until I started this business and started working in it for a while, and I understand exactly what it means. Unless you are obsessed with it, and that's all you can think about, you shouldn't do it, because it's one of the hardest, most grueling businesses out there. And you will go through so much rejection, and you will face so many critics, and you will face people just wanting you not to make it, wanting you not to make it, wanting you not to make it, because there's so much competition, and there's so many things that get in the way of you actually working and being successful, that it becomes really hard, where if you get beat up, beaten down so many times, you have to have that thing inside you that doesn't matter what happens to you, you will still keep going and still, pursue it. So that's my advice. Unless you're obsessed with it, don't do it.
Excellent answer. And, it reminds me of something I read in an interview with Harv, and I give him a lot of credit for it. He was making this movie, Van Wilder Freshman Year, for his audience, not for the critics. He kind of knew
right.
He kind of knew what their response was going to be to it going in, but he knew who the audience was for the movie, and that's
right.
who he made it for, and he did it. You guys all together did a great job.
Right. I mean, well, let's be honest. We're not going to win any Academy Awards with this film, okay? Right. I'm not going to burst your bubble here, but I probably won't get my Oscar nod from this. But however, when you watch it, are you going to have a good time? Yeah, absolutely. It's so fun. It's dirty and it's sexy and it's gross, and there's times you want to puke, and there's times you want to laugh, and it's just a fun movie. It's just fun. Like, it's a good time.
The peach scene pops into my mind.
The what one?
The peach scene.
Oh, when he eats it.
Yeah. I don't even want to give that away.
Spoiler alert, there's a peach scene.
There's a peach scene. There you go.
And Georgia Peaches. You know what I'm talking about.
So now, in addition to Ryan Reynolds, it's not the first time you've stepped into a role that someone else has kind of played.
Right.
You did the Dukes of Hazzard's movie, right?
Right.
And what was that experience like for you playing?
Well, it's funny because I've done this 3 times now. I did it for this one, for Ryan Reynolds. I did it for Sean William Scott. I replaced him in the Dukes of Hazzard at the beginning, and I replaced Ashton Kutcher in Cheaper by the Dozen 2. So basically what happens is when these guys get too expensive, and the studios cannot afford them anymore, and their rates have gone really high, they call in Bennett. Right. Get Bennett in here. He's that other funny guy. We'll use him.
Get a Subway.
Yeah, get Bennett and a $10 gift certificate to Subway. He'll shoot it. Dukes of Hazzard was fun. I mean, I got the phone call and they asked me if I wanted to be Bo Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard and if I wanted to, drive the General Lee around all summer. And it was kind of like one of those no-brainer questions. Like, do I want to be Bo Duke? Absolutely, I want to be Bo Duke. Like, it's the best. I mean, you get to be a Duke boy. Wow, that's awesome.
Now, he's the one who had the blonde hair, though, in the original series, right?
Yeah, because I wanted to drive the car, because they asked me if I wanted to be Bo or Luke, and I said, wait, which one drives the car again? And I said, Bo. I was like, I'd like to be Bo, please, because I want to drive the General Lee. That was exactly how that conversation went. And they said, well, it's dye your hair, and I said, yes, and I'll be driving the General Lee. Thank you. But that was a hard movie to make, man.
Well, tell the audience how fun and easy it is to jump across a car in one take and slide in through the window at one time.
Okay, here's the thing. John Schneider, I don't know how you made this look so easy, but kudos to you, because sliding across the hood of a '69 Dodge Charger with no, like, Vaseline or slippery stuff on your butt or on the hood, not easy. It is not easy. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. it's like 8 feet wide, and every time I would try to slide, I would dent the hood. Like I would jump right on, cannonball, wouldn't move, just sit there like a fatty on a hood.
Kind of like Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Paul Blart
like
Mall Cop. There I was.
Inching across the floor.
I was Paul Blart. I was Paul Blart. That's exactly who I was in that movie.
And the window is small, right?
Well,
and
you're
big.
Yeah, I'm 6'2". I'm a big guy, and the window's about, literally, it's like that big. So trying to get, like, not only do you have to slide across the hood, run around, and jump in the window, but you have to make it look cool.
Right.
So, like, it's one thing just to actually do the physical act itself, but to make it look like you do this every day, very hard. So, like, jumping through the window and, like, twisting my body around, I mean, oh, it was awful. I think I cracked my nuts on the hood of that car more times than anyone I don't know, a lot.
A Van Wilder outtake, perhaps.
Van Wilder, yeah, the outtakes that, but also because Randy would punch me in the nuts so much.
Right.
The kid that played Luke.
Right.
Once you start that whole thing on set, you are over. It is done.
It's like pitching in baseball. You hit someone on one team, you gotta strike back.
Now it's on, yeah.
Now, there was one scene that I recall that you had to redo in the winter, and 10 times like this underwater scene.
Yeah, because that's a great, brilliant idea. Let's shoot the scene where I'm underwater looking for the General Lee, and I find the General Lee for the first time, and I see it underwater, and my eyes get really big, and I'm like, come up and say, "There's the car! I found the car!" Instead of shooting it in the summer, out at a beautiful lake where it's like, 109 degrees, let's shoot it in the winter in the valley in like the most disgusting tub of water you could possibly find. That's about 47 degrees Fahrenheit. It was the coldest place on earth. And then, John, jump in there. No, it's going to be fine. And then just open your eyes underwater in the 40-degree water. No problem. Not at all. It was hard.
And you had to do it about 10 times,
yeah,
right?
Of course. Because why? Because
camera wasn't on.
Camera underwater with scuba gear, like no. And all the guys that were filming it underwater all had like wetsuits on and like hoods and all this stuff. And they're like, God, it's really cold. Here I am, shirtless in jeans, just like swimming under the water. It was pretty cold.
I do want to get on one thing that's serious, and that is we're in the middle towards the end of the summer. And what project are you working on?
Right now, I am working on a movie called Elevator Girl with our good friend Lacey Chabert. She's Gretchen from Mean Girls, the little one. So adorable, so sweet. And she's awesome. We're doing a movie together for Hallmark right now that will be coming out sometime soon for the Hallmark Channel called Elevator Girl. And it's just a little romantic comedy love story. It's nice. It's
guessing a love triangle, perhaps?
Yeah, there's a love triangle in it, as there is with every movie I do. I always have a love triangle. But on top of that, I'm also going to work for Camp Heartland, which is my summer camp that I work with kids with HIV and AIDS. oneheartland.org is the website. It is the most amazing place on earth, you guys. It's a camp dedicated to improving the lives of kids who are affected by HIV and AIDS, and they service about 1,000 kids a summer, and they have a summer camp, and they fly them all from all around the country, and the kids don't have to pay a thing. The camp pays for everything. So we need donations. We need anything you have, they just go to the website, oneheartland.org. It'll tell you all about it. It's the greatest group of kids in the world, and I work with them every summer. And then during the winter, I work with the camp, and we try to raise as much money as we can. I auction myself off for dinners. If you want to bid on a dinner with me, I don't know why you would, but if you would, we'll take $10 at least or more for that one. Yeah, it's one of the greatest camps ever. So.
And this is a year-round commitment for you?
Yeah, I do it all year round, but then the camp is only in the summer.
Right.
So all year we raise money,
the fundraising part of it.
The fundraising part of it, yeah. We do a dance marathon at the Mall of America, which is awesome, and yeah, it's a good time.
That's fantastic. So I'm really excited for you. I mean, I'm serious. I hope this movie does great for you. It is out on DVD currently. It premieres on Comedy Central one more time, September 5th.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure of the time. On Comedy Central, check that out. And this Hallmark movie, do we know when that's going to come out? You're shooting it now. Do you know?
We don't know when it'll come out. Sometime, probably in the next couple months on the Hallmark Channel. Yeah.
Am I missing anything? Any other things you're working on?
There's some stuff in the works, but we don't want to talk about it yet.
Fair enough. Well, I thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
It was a lot of fun, and I'm going to talk to Brian. We're going to edit that clip, and we're going to send it to Lauren Michaels about you getting on Saturday Night Live.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you.
We're going to try to do that. That's going to do it for this edition of Filmnut. I thank one and all for tuning in, and we will see you next time on the show.